My name is Martin Kapel, and I was born the son of Polish parents, but I was not born in Poland. But by the nationality laws, both of Poland and of the country in which I was born, I was legally at birth a Polish citizen. But the country in which I was born was actually Germany, where my parents lived at the time. I was in fact born in Leipzig. That was in 1930. So my earliest memories are in fact of Leipzig. I lived there until I was 8 years old. On my father's side, all my father's family lived in Poland. It was my father himself who had left Poland as a young man to go to Germany. On my mother's side, although all my ancestors, as far as I can trace back, were born in Poland, my mother's parents and those of their children who had been born at the time left Poland to go to Germany. They did not settle in Leipzig, they settled in Nuremberg, and they lived there for quite a number of years until the first Hitler putsch in the 1920s, in 1924 in fact, or 23 I think it was, when they left Germany and settled in Strasbourg in France. Now, by that time, my parents, as young people, had already met, and they had already decided that they wanted to marry. So my father went to Strasbourg and stayed there long enough to establish the residence qualifications which enabled him to marry in France. My parents were married in Strasbourg, and immediately after their marriage they went back to Germany and settled in Leipzig, where I was eventually born. My father had come from Poland, from a small village in Poland, Brzesko, and of course there the only kind of education which was available to him was Jewish education, studying the Torah, the Talmud, the various Jewish writings. There was very little in the way of secular education, but when he came to Leipzig, he wanted to study, so he attended evening classes first, and then managed to save up enough money to go to the university. My grandparents on both sides were what we call Hasidim. The Hasidim are the ultra-Orthodox. Now, my parents departed from that extreme form of orthodoxy, but nevertheless they were Orthodox, and I was brought up in an Orthodox household as long as I was with my parents, or should I say at least with one parent, because my father died when I was 5 years old. Leipzig itself was a fine city. In those days it was famous for a number of things, including its twice yearly trade fair. It was the biggest trade fair in the world, and tourists came from all over the world to exhibit their wares, businessmen to exhibit their wares and to conclude business deals with other businessmen. And of course, when you want to attract people from all over the world, you've got to give them something to look at. And so, in fact, it was a very fine city, one of Germany's show cities. Apart from its trade fair, all its industries were the sort of industries which do not produce a lot of pollution and a lot of noise and that sort of thing. The main industries were publishing, printing, bookbinding, and in fact if you go into the German section of any library you'll find most of the books were printed in Leipzig. And its other industry, for which it was famous, is one of which people might disapprove today, the fur industry. Some of the finest furs were on sale there. We might not approve of that today, but in those days people saw it differently. So these were industries which do not spoil the appearance of a city. there was a Jewish area which is being preserved now. The buildings are being preserved, not the Jewish population that disappeared. But there was this Jewish area, but we didn't live in it because we were financially not well off, even when my father was still alive. After all, he was trying to establish himself. He hadn't got very far when he died, and then of course we were even less well off. So we lived in what was essentially a working class area in Leipzig.